Salutations readers, welcome to or welcome back to my channel. My name is Nkechi, and for today I'm going to talk about pretty much my attempt at the Reddit Fantasy Book Bingo of 2024 to 2025. Now, if you do not know what I'm talking about, I was actually introduced to this last year thanks to Angela from Literature Science Alliance, where she was talking about how the Reddit Fantasy, and like under Reddit, they had this book bingo board thing. I don't know how long it's been going on for, but I just noticed it from last year, and how the idea is that you're trying to read new fantasy like every year with specific prompts. Like there's an easy mode, there's a hard mode. Also, Angela recently posted her wrap up as far as like her attempt at the bingo board from last year as well, and I wanted to do one for myself. But the idea though of this bingo board though that's very interesting to me is that the board starts April 1st of the year all the way to March 31st of the next year. So I am recording about a week before we get a whole new board for 2025 to 2026. And I have to say, whatever I have here is what I got. I don't think I'm going to be able to get a full blackout. But I have to say though, I actually was very successful with this board. More so than I actually initially thought, which makes me very curious to see on how I'm going to do for the 2025-2026 board. But let's actually just quickly talk about the books for all the prompts and things, of which I don't even have the prompts up, so that's funny. I don't even know what prompts we're talking about. That's hilarious. I'm so funny. Okay, so the very first prompt was to read a fantasy book that's the first in a series. The hard mode is that the series is more than 3 books long. So for me, I don't even know how long the series is, so I don't even know if I completed the hard mode or not. And to be quite honest, for a lot of these, I don't know if I completed the hard mode at all. But I will say though that for this one, I completed the prompt with The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the first book in the Shadow of the Leviathan series. This is a fantasy mystery series. It's a lot like having Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson duo set in a second world fantasy world. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I have a dedicated reading vlog of me reading this, and I'm really looking forward to reading the sequel, A Drop of Corruption, that's coming out April 1st actually. Second prompt, Alliterative Title. Read a book where multiple words in the title begin with the same letter. The hard mode was the title has 3 or more words that start with the same letter. I didn't get to the hard mode for this one. I think the one I read for this prompt was The Ballad of Black Tom by Victor Laval. This was, I think, cosmic horror, Lovecraftian horror or something. It's a very fantasy-like, but in the sense of cosmic horror, which I'm not really familiar with, to be quite honest. This was my first one. This is my first book that I read by Victor Laval. I am curious to read more from him, but this one I didn't particularly love as much. I think I gave it around a 3-star-ish rating. I don't really remember. This one didn't really stick with me. I read a video audio. It's fine. Next, for third prompt, Under the Surface. Read a book where an important setting is either underground or underwater. Hard mode is that at least half the book takes place underground or underwater. I don't remember if this one I did the hard mode or not, but the book I read for this prompt though was The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. This book is the first book in the Amina Al-Sarafi series as well. I hope we have a sequel coming out this year. We shall see. But I really love this one. I read it via audio. I loved it. 5 stars. I'm trying to remember. I think it was just parts of it that was like underwater. Because we were on a boat. And we were underwater, I think, at some point. I can't remember why, though. This is the one I read for that prompt. Or maybe we were underground. I can't really remember. But I read it for this prompt, and I really enjoyed it. Really loved it. So, happy about that one. Let's see. Prompt 4. Criminals. Read a book in which the main character is a criminal. Could be a thief, assassin, someone who commits mail fraud, etc. Hard mode features a heist. For this prompt, I read Labyrinth's Heart by M.A. Carrick. This is the third and final book in the Rick and Rose trilogy. I read the first 2 books before the challenge started, so I couldn't count either Mask of Mirrors or The Liar's Knot for this one. But Labyrinth's Heart, the third and final book, it's my least favorite of the trilogy, unfortunately. It's still solid enough, honestly, but I don't really care for this particular ending as much. I still liked it though. It's still pretty good. And the main character, well, we follow few main characters, but the main character though was is a thief. And I don't remember, was there a heist in this one? I don't think there was a heist, so I don't think this fits for hard mode. Number 5 is Dreams. Read a book where characters experience dreams, magical or otherwise. The hard mode is that the dream is not mystical or unusual, just like a normal dream or nightmare. And I don't remember if this one fit hard mode or not. Probably not. I generally do not remember, but for this one, I read Godly Heathens by H.E. Edgman, the first book in the Ouroboros duology. young adult fantasy. I really enjoy this one. If you want to read this one, I do recommend it. Look up content. I can't remember if the book provided content warnings or not, but look them up anyways if it doesn't. I still recommend it though. The main character is definitely unlikable. Actually, there's a lot of unlikable main characters in this one, but I do recommend checking this book out if you have not already. Number 6, Entitled Animals. Read a book that has an animal in the title. An animal in the title doesn't have to appear in the story whatsoever. The hard mode is that the animal in the title is a fantasy or sci-fi creature. This one, I will say, fits hard mode. And I read The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. We do indeed have the character who is indeed the familiar. We do kind of like an animal in the cover with a little scorpion. And if you read the book, I will say this fits for hard mode. I know people have read this one and they didn't love it when it came out last year, but I really enjoyed it. So don't let it deter you that a lot of people didn't like it or thought it was okay. I mean, I'm not an avid fan of Leigh Bardugo. I'm somewhat of a fan, but I think this was actually a pretty solid standalone personally. But, you know, we can agree to disagree on that one. But this one, I think, fits solidly into the 6th prompt. Prompt number 7. It was a hard one. This one's about bards. Read a book in which the primary protagonist is a bard, musician, poet, or storyteller. Hard mode is that the character is explicitly called a bard. I did not get hard mode for this one because I wasn't even sure what on earth would even fit in here. To be quite honest, it was difficult. But if you're familiar with the Singing Hill cycle, any of those novellas count because the main character, Chi, is a storyteller. So for me, I read the newest edition in the series, The Brides of High Hill. This one was just really easy. I think I got it originally as an ARC, and I got a physical copy gifted to me thanks to the publisher, Tor.com. So how about this one? Loved it. Love this addition to the series, and definitely looking forward to reading more from that series. Prompt number 8 is pretty easy. Prologue and epilogues. Just read a book that either has a prologue or an epilogue. Hard mode is that it gotta have both. I don't recall if Spin of Fate by Avora, by any chance, has both a prologue and an epilogue, but I do remember having one of the either. Okay, this one has a prologue. Did it have an epilogue? Oh, it does. It has both a prologue and epilogue. So this one actually fits for hard mode. So this one is a debut novel. It's young adult fantasy, and I really enjoyed it. I actually have not seen many people talk about it. I think the only person I've really seen like give avid hype for it was Rachel from Reads with Rachel. She's the one who even introduced this book to me, and I do recommend more people actually like checking it out. It's the first book I think in a trilogy, and I pre-ordered it, and it's really, really good. I don't recommend the audiobook though. Read this one with your eyeballs. I don't recommend the audiobook personally. The audiobook narrator is fine, but I don't think it's the right narrator for this story. But this one though, I really enjoyed. I really like the characters. I'm very much curious to see how the character arcs are going to go in the sequel, and also the themes that was introduced in this story. I'm very curious actually to see where the author is going to go next, and I'm very curious when we're going to get a sequel. All right, number 9, self-published or indie publisher. So pretty much you just read a book that was self-published or published through an indie publisher. Hard mode is that the self-published book has fewer than 100 ratings on Goodreads, or an indie publisher has done an Ask Me Anything on Reddit fantasy. I don't know nothing about the hard mode one. The book I read for this was Smile and Be a Villain by Yves Donnellan. This is the first book in a duology. This one's a queer Hamlet retelling where Hamlet is bi, I think, or is he gay? I can't remember. And then Ophelia is ace. There's a lot of like really nice like representation, marginalized representation in here. I particularly did not really love this one. I was actually kind of disappointed with this one. I am a fan of Hamlet, but I didn't particularly love on how that this novel particularly was like acting as like a prequel to Hamlet. Basically, so like the events in this book takes place before the original play, and then the sequel in this duology will be like the stuff that's taking place during the original play. And yeah, I didn't particularly love that direction, honestly. And I didn't particularly think certain like creative liberties and directions on the historical aspects were my favorite either. I felt like it lacked certain like explanation for certain things. But I say it was fine. I think I will read the sequel, The Rest is Silence, which we don't know when's going to come out yet. But this one was fine. It fulfilled the prompt. It is what it is. We'll see on how the sequel goes. All right, for number 10, it's Romantasy. Read a book that features romance as the main plot. It must be speculative in nature, but does not have to be a fantasy. Hard mode is that the main character is queer. So I did not go for a hard mode on this one. Initially, I thought I found a book that might fit this one, but technically speaking, the romance aspect isn't really a romance, so I did not include it for this one. But instead, I went with Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher. This is a standalone novel that takes place in the world of the Riot Rat, which is part of a larger series, includes the Clock Tower duology by T. Kingfisher, and includes the Saint of Steel series by T. Kingfisher. This is just the only standalone book that's part of that whole world. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was actually the first fantasy romance I actually read by T. Kingfisher, and it's the one I really loved. So far, it's my favorite one. So that's why I own one physically. I do know that it has a different cover. It's a new edition. It's more traditionally published, but I'm sticking with this original cover, okay? I just like this better than like the new one. I think I have the cover right here. The new one is fine, but it seems a little busy to me. I prefer this original cover. But yeah, this is a fantasy romance where we're dealing with a woman who is living in pretty much an abusive situation. She wants to end her life by putting a sword through her heart, only to find out that the sword is a man. So yeah. And hijinks ensues, and honestly, it was actually a pretty good time. And I do recommend reading Sword Heart if you have not read it already. And then for prompt number 11, it's Dark Academia. Read a book that fits the Dark Academia aesthetic. Includes school, university, secret societies, dark secrets. It doesn't have to be fantasy, but must be speculative. Hard mode is that the school itself is entirely mundane. I actually have read 2 books that fit for this, but I'm going to stick to just one with this one and go with... Actually, no. I'm going to stick with one. I read 2 books that fit for this prompt, and I'm just going to talk about both of them, which I didn't realize until I'm looking on Storygraph. So one of them is Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wong. This one is Dark Academia in the sense of the fact that the main character is being, I think, like a magician in this like university where she's going to be the only female scholar in the university. Yeah, this was really popular that came out. Actually, I remember self-published, it was pretty popular, and then when it was traditionally published by Del Rey, it was also pretty popular as well. So that one was actually a pretty good one. But Immortal Dark by Tikas Gurma, I think that one fits a little bit more Dark Academia to me as well. It's young adult though, it's young adult fantasy, but still pretty good. It's the first book in a trilogy, and we're dealing with vampires. So this one, I gotta say, I enjoyed more so than Blood Over Brighthaven, but I still think both Immortal Dark and Blood Over Brighthaven were pretty good books that fit for this prompt. All right, prompt number 12, multi-POV. I think it's pretty easy. Read a book with at least 3 POV characters. Hard mode is at least 5. I went with easy mode on this one. I don't think I could find anything with hard mode or any that I was interested in reading at the time. And I went with The Hedge Witch of Fox Hall by Anna Bright. This one has 3 main characters we're following perspectives with. I didn't particularly love this one. This one I think is young adult fantasy romance. And I didn't particularly love the romance aspect of it. It was fine. Okay, so prompt number 13, published in 2024. Basically just a book that was published for the first time in 2024. No reprints or new editions. First translations in your language of choice is allowed. Hard mode is that the author is also the author's first published novel. I think for this one, I actually had 2 books, surprisingly. I had Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro. It doesn't fit for hard mode in this one. It's not a first novel. And part of me is kind of like, read like it was the first one because, Immortal Pleasures, y'all, that was a bad book. I did not like that one. Fantasy horror, trying to talk about the story of Nkechi, and I was not here for it. Nope, not here for Immortal Pleasures. I talk about my worst books of 2024. It was bad, y'all. It was bad. All right, prompt number 14, character with a disability. Read a book in which an important character has a physical or mental disability and hard mode is the main character. I don't think I got hard mode in this one. I think I'm going easy mode. And the book I got for this one was actually The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. The love interest to the main character has an eye patch, so has a disability regarding sight partially. So that's why I went with that one. I don't know why that one was a little hard, to be quite honest. It's for some reason it's hard to find character with a disability. I don't know what's going on with me in that last year because I don't think it was supposed to be that hard, but I couldn't find many that I was interested in, so that's what I went with. All right, prompt number 15, published in the 1990s. Basically, just read a book that was published since then. Hard mode is that the author or one of the authors has published something in the last 5 years. I have not been able to read any fantasy, speculative fiction work that was published in the 90s. I'm sorry. I tried twice. I tried with My Soul to Keep by Tyler Reeve. I soft DNF'd it. I was just not in the mood for it. I tried with Howl's Moving Castle. That did not work for me. That was a hard DNF. And there's only one other book I did not get time to try because I just wasn't in the headspace to read, but honestly would have fit perfect with this one. And that would have been Parable of the Sower by Activity Mother. That would have been perfect for this prompt, but I did not read that. So this is the only prompt that I have not been able to clear away. So yeah, that's rather unfortunate. Prompt 16, Orcs, Trolls, and Goblins, oh my. Read a book featuring Orcs, Trolls, and Goblins. The hard mode is that it's the main character. Obviously, you could use something with like Legends and Lattes. I don't care for those books. So I went with Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. We were actually in the... I remember the main character and her posse were in the Goblin market, and that's how I got the Goblins part. And I think there was Trolls. Trolls and Goblins. But yeah, Nettle and Bone, that was a surprising one that actually fit here, honestly. It was really hard with this one because I don't read fantasy books featuring these kind of creatures at all. I don't care for that, or at least a lot of the fantasy that feature that I don't care for those fantasy books. So yeah, really hard with this one. The one that was actually a little bit easier though was prompt 17, which is Space Opera. Read a sci-fi book featuring a large cast of characters that has a focus on social dynamics which may be political or personal in nature. Set primarily in space or on spaceships. The hard mode was written by an author of marginalized gender identities, so woman, trans, non-binary. And I had several options for this one. For me, I actually went with Hamajang Luck by Makana Yamamoto. This one I actually got as an ER from Harper Voyager, and it's a debut novel. I recommend this one. This is written by Native Hawaiian author. I forgot specifically which gender. There's particular gender identity term that the author uses that I don't really know in the top of my head, but generally non-binary. And also the book does feature non-binary trans characters as well in the stories. So yeah, highly recommend Hamajang Luck if you've not checked it out already. Prompt 18 is actually pretty easy. Author of color, read a book by author of color. Hard mode must be a debut novel published in the last 5 years. I actually went with Squire, that is illustrated by Sarah Alfaghi and written by Nadia Shamaz. This one I read last year. It was actually the best book of 2024 for me. I really enjoy this one. I also would say Time Travelers as well. This one would fit for author of color. Honestly, I just read a lot of fantasy books written by authors of color. Okay, that's primarily where my fantasy comes from. It's from authors of color, so really almost any fantasy book I read fits for this one. As far as a debut novel published in the last 5 years, I mean, it depends, but yeah, I will say though that Squire, that's why I went with for this one, and I recommend this one. It's a really good young adult fantasy graphic novel that is written by Jordan American. That's illustrated and also written by a Palestinian American, Jordan American writer, illustrator as well. Highly recommend reading Squire if you have not read it already. Prompt 19, Survival. Read a book with which the primary goal of the characters and story focuses on survival. The hard mode is that there are no super viruses or pandemics. I did not remember why I went with this one, but I think looking here, it looks like I could have actually gone with 2 books that fit for this. Whatever, I'm just gonna go with one of them that's actually like fantasy, and that is The Last Fee Hunter by Selene Goldenberg. This one I didn't really enjoy as much. It's a debut novel, adult fantasy. I think this part of the story is that the main character is a fee hunter, and he might be the last one. He's trying to go on this journey to get this one woman who's pregnant and get her across the land and stuff like that. I don't remember much about it. I just remember not liking it. So honestly, it did not stick with my brain at all. But it was a survival story, so I guess that counts. So sure, I guess. All right, prompt 20. Judge a book by its cover. I think that's self-explanatory. Hard mode was to pick the book based on the information available on the cover, which means you don't read any blurb, synopsis, nothing. You literally solely look by the cover. And honestly, I will say that this one, I would say it was really mostly cover because I was not sure what this book was fully about until I started reading it. And that was Wind Among Crows by Veronica Roth. This is actually the first book in the Cursebreaker series. So, don't know how long that series is. This one, I literally went by the cover because I like the style of it. The style of the cover actually is, I think it was illustrated by the same person who illustrated the Summoner Circle series, you know, like Evocation and Ascension, those books by Saint Gibson, those books. It's the same person who illustrated those covers. So I was like, oh, okay. Wind Among Crows, this was cool. And Veronica Roth, I mean, is this the same Veronica Roth that wrote Divergent, which I tried to read in middle school? Child, I was surprised. And when I read Wind Among Crows, I really enjoyed it. I had a good time with that. I got it as an advanced listening copy from Macmillan Audio, and I do recommend the audiobook. I'm not gonna lie. I do recommend it entirely. It is a novella, but it does have a sequel coming out later this year, and I do look forward to reading the sequel. Let's see. Prompt 21. Set in a small town. Self-explanatory. Hard mode. The small town can be real or fictional, but the broader setting must be our real world, not a secondary world. I don't think... No, I didn't. Okay, so I didn't went with hard mode for this one. So the book I read for this prompt was The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. I didn't really enjoy this one. It was also one of the worst books I read of last year. It's like, I think adult fantasy romance or something. I don't know if it has like a sequel or not, just a standalone companion novel or whatever, but I don't care for this one. I think it's supposed to be like cozy fantasy, which was one of the books I realized that I don't like cozy fantasy, so yeah, not for me on that one, but is what it is. All right, prompt number 22, 5 SFF short stories. So you just read any 5 short stories or novelettes. Hard mode, read an entire speculative anthology or collection. I went with hard mode in this one because I'm not just gonna read 5 separate short stories. I'm just gonna read an entire anthology or collection. That's just what I'm gonna do. I also did put in like time travelers as well for this one because this one was just a stronger short story collection to me. So yeah, I do recommend that one. Prompt number 23, Eldritch Creatures. Read a book featuring a being that is uncanny, unearthly, and weird. The hard mode is that the book is not related to the Chulu mythos. I don't know anything about the hard mode, so I didn't go with hard mode. For this prompt, I went with Evocation by S.D. Gibson. There is some sort of like eldritch being creature that is haunting the main character, David, and that's why I went with Evocation. I did indeed have a dedicated reading vlog for this one because I was gifted an ARC from the publisher, and I did like the story. I like it. I didn't love it, but I did read, I think, the prequel novella as a part of the series, and it does make me more intrigued to read the rest of the series more so than Evocation did. So, looking forward to reading more of this series more so now than I did when I initially read Evocation, and I do recommend it, not gonna lie. It is indeed urban fantasy romance, but it was an urban fantasy romance that actually worked for me, so is what it is on that one. But I'm very much curious to see more on how the romantic development, the romantic arc between the characters go about, so I recommend. And then prompt number 24, reference materials. So basically read a book that features any additional materials such as a map, footnotes, glossary, translation guide, Germanis Personae, stuff like that. And the hard mode is that the book contains at least 2 types of additional materials. For this one, I went with Ray Bear by Jordan Fueco. I think this one had a map. Did this one have a map? I can't remember. Yes, it had a map, so that's one. Did it have anything else? Oh, it had a glossary. So I got hard mode for this one, yes. Oh, and it had a list of cast and characters in their home realms. Look at that, it has 3, yep. Fit for hard mode for this one. It was one of the best books I read of last year, Young Adult Fantasy, first book in a duology. I highly recommend this one, especially as the audiobook. I recommend the series if you have not checked it out already. Please check out this series if you have not already. I just love it so much. Oh my gosh, I've read everything by Jordan Fueco now, and I need her to write more books. Now, the 25th and final prompt, book club or read-along book. Any past or active book clubs count as well as past and active read-alongs. So any book that was, any fantasy speculative work that was part of a book club or a read-along. Hard mode is that must read a current collection of either a book club or read-along and participate in the discussion. And for me, actually, I have 2 books that fit for this. One for a book club and one for a read-along. Book club-wise, it was Dragon Fruit by Makia Lucier. I read this one for the Full Moon Book Club that's hosted by Jan from Jan Agaton. I don't think she's doing much any fantasy picks nowadays, but I read it initially as for her book club, and I didn't really enjoy this one, unfortunately. It was one of the worst books I read for 2024. I didn't like this one. Not the young adult fantasy for me. But as far as the read-along book, though, I actually read Modern Divination by Isabel Agajanian, actually. I had it as an ARC from Pan Macmillan, but a bookstore in the UK was hosting a read-along through Storygraph, and I actually participated in the read-along and participated actively in the discussion question part of the read-along. And I would say that one also counts too. That's the first book in a duology, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's a part of my Reading Howl's Moving Castle quoted books reading vlog, so check out that vlog if you want to know more about my thoughts on Modern Divination. But this one, though, I gotta say, I really enjoyed this one. It was definitely more to my taste than Dragon Fruit. It's hard for me to read books for book clubs nowadays, but I did indeed enjoy my time with Modern Divination more so than Dragon Fruit. And that is it, y'all. That's actually all the books as far as the Reddit Fantasy Book Bingo. I gotta say, I was very successful. Way more successful than I initially thought I was. I wish, though, I was able to do a blackout, but prompt 15 was just not, it was just not it. It wasn't gonna work, unfortunately, and it sucks. But I am glad, though, that I tried, and I really am looking forward to a whole new board, and we shall see how things go for 2025-2026 bingo board. Will I be able to get a blackout? With the way my reading slump is looking right now, probably not, but I have a whole year. I really do. And honestly, as far as this particular bingo board, actually, I was able to complete almost all the prompts in 2024 of itself. Like, that 9 months of 2024, I was able to get through, almost all the prompts. So, I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of myself for that. But we shall see about the 2025-2026 board, how that one goes. But anyways, thank you all, though, for coming on to this video. If you like it, comment down below in the comment section. Did y'all participate in this Reddit Fantasy Book Bingo? Are you going to participate in the one that's starting April 1st of this year? You're going to try it? You want to try? Are you curious? You're not curious? Let me know if you did participate. How far have you gone into it? Did you get a full blackout? Did you get just a few bingos? Did you get a bingo? Did you participate at all? I don't know. I'm curious. Let me know. And if you like this video, like this kind of content, you like my vibe, subscribe if you want to. And if you made this far into the video, you're not sure what to say, but want to leave me an emoji, let me know you're here. Leave me a star emoji. One of the varying stars emojis. Any of those emojis will work for me. Anyways, thank you all for coming on to this video, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye.